From Florida, the ranking member of the subcommittee, for 5 minutes for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, one of the reasons that hardworking Americans are grappling with higher energy bills right now is what you did when you took office at the Department of Energy in canceling so many clean energy projects and grid reliability projects. When you took office, you killed over 350 new energy projects and threatened over 300 more with termination. You were sued because of this, and you lost in court because of it. I don't think it's gotten enough attention that many of the grants you canceled were done so just because they were in states led by Democrats. Is that fair? In the United States of America, for you just simply to make a political decision to kill clean energy projects, increase electric bills simply for political purposes?
So the statement is false. All of the 2,240 decisions we made did not involve politics at all.
Mr. Secretary, let me show you. I'm sure you've seen this. This is the district court stipulation signed by your representatives of the Department of Energy in federal district court that stipulates a primary reason for the selection of which DOE grant termination decisions were included in the October 2025 notice tranche was whether the grantee was located in a blue state. This is signed by your attorneys, and it's of course it is true.
Read your words more carefully. We're included in the announcement, not in the decisions on the projects. If you want to make accusations, please be accurate.
Are you going, well, talk about accuracy. You just said that gas prices during the Biden administration were higher than they are now. They are not. Boy, tell my folks back in Florida that are pulling up to the gas pump at $4.29 today.
Average was over $5 during the Biden administration.
And it's so arbitrary. You all have inflicted such pain and damage, and you can try to bob and weave on all this. But when a federal district court calls you out for your illegal cancellation of energy grants, hopefully you're going back to the drawing board to say, we're now going to right the ship. For the 7 projects that prevailed, have you released the funds to those energy projects?
Of course, we're appealing the decision there.
You're appealing the decision.
We cannot appeal it yet because we don't have a final decision on it. But look.
So then what about the other?
Do you want an answer or do you just want to speak?
Well, you said you're appealing the decision. So that means that as of right now, you're not. What about the other hundreds of grants to stabilize the grid, to help lower costs, to bring on new clean energy, cheaper energy technologies? Do you intend now, since the courts have said you acted illegally and arbitrarily, to actually restore those grants that were appropriated by the Congress?
Of course, we follow the law, always will and always have. But what you call clean energy, it's exactly the subsidies on wind, solar, and batteries that drove the 30% rise in electricity prices during the Biden administration and that drove the rise in electricity prices last year. Because the only things that could be permitted were energy sources that only work some of the time, and you don't know when they work.
Mr.
That is a surefire way to raise electricity prices, and it did.
You're going to hear from other colleagues today about canceled projects that states and communities were relying on to help lower energy bills, and now you have said, no, we think it's more expensive to double down on costly, polluting plants. You know, the unabated burning of oil and gas and coal also has an outsized cost and impact. You can't turn a blind eye to the rising cost of the heating climate, and you continue to kind of bury your head in the sand on that. And you go back to all of these businesses that had fully permitted and even begun constructed projects. How does the private sector ever trust you again when you arbitrarily and illegally cancel these projects? How do you rebuild that trust?
They weren't arbitrary, and the legality are being disputed. You mentioned the rising costs of a warming climate. Over the last 35 years, insured losses as a percent of global GDP
know insurance
have
in
declined
Florida.
20%.
I know insurance in
They've
Florida.
declined, not risen.
Yep.
The generally time has expired.
I'll yield back my.
Here we go again, another big hearing, and suddenly it's the same old blame game. Democrats lining up to point fingers at high energy costs, but if you listen close, the cracks show fast. Today, I want to break down what's really happening behind those jaw-dropping electricity bills. And trust me, it's not just political theater. The claim is simple. Over 350 energy projects just canceled. Prices up, and apparently, it's everyone's fault except their own. But hang on, because the pushback doesn't just deny it, it flips the whole story upside down, right as someone tries to trap the secretary with a court doc, saying the projects were targeted by state color, blue state bias and all that. The secretary just flat out says, "You're reading it wrong. It's about how they made the announcement, not the actual decision. Big difference." Suddenly, that whole political bias argument, it starts losing steam, fast, then it heats up. Gas prices come up, in tori nern, and dendir andir unbonst. You feel the shift. Someone claims prices are worse now, and the secretary instantly fires back. During the Biden years, gas hit over $5 a gallon. No spin, just fact. Remember those days at the pump? Yeah, you felt it too. But here's the real split clean energy. Wind, solar, batteries, the secretary argues. Those subsidies didn't drop your bill. They actually helped drive electricity prices up by about 30%. Why? Because renewables don't run all the time, and you can't control when they do. That's not just politics. That's the physics of energy. Meanwhile, the other side talks about climate costs and rising insurance claims. The secretary claps back. Globally, as a percentage, those losses have actually gone down over decades. That's not the story you usually hear. So, what does it mean for you? All this noise comes down to one thing. Why is your bill higher? Was it unfair project cancellations? Or did green policies force unreliable energy into the grid, jacking up costs? Courts will keep fighting. Appeals, delays, you know the drill. But here's the truth. The idea that clean energy saves money is under more fire than ever, not just from politicians, but from hard numbers and real-world bills. Because at the end of the day, you don't care about the politics. You care about what shows up on that monthly statement. And right now, that number, still climbing.